In a two-story house nestled in the quiet residential neighborhood of suburban Seattle, Emily Johnson stood with her morning coffee in hand, gazing at the snow-capped mountains visible beyond her garden. Her early rising habit remained unchanged from her days as a nurse. From the kitchen came the sound of her 5-year-old daughter Sophia stirring her breakfast cereal with a spoon. "Mommy, we have show and tell at kindergarten today. What should I bring?" Sophia was a bright child who always asked questions that rivaled those of adults. Emily turned around and smiled at her daughter's serious expression. Sophia, with her black hair tied in twin pigtails, stared intently at Emily with brown eyes inherited from her father. "How about your doll? Or maybe that clay project you made the other day?" Sophia tilted her head. "I want something special. Something that will surprise everyone in the class." Emily gently stroked her daughter's head. Sophia had been remarkably observant since birth, often impressing the adults around her. Sometimes she remembered details so minute that even adults missed them, surprising Emily. Her husband Michael had already left for work. Working as a project manager at an IT company, he was responsible and family-oriented, but lately he'd been extremely busy with a major project. Starting next week, he was scheduled for a week-long business trip to a client company in Seattle, and he was swamped with preparations. As Emily was readying Sophia's hair, her cell phone rang. The screen showed her sister Rachel's name. Looking at the clock, it was still only 7:30 in the morning. It was unusual for Rachel to call so early. "Good morning, Rachel. You're up early." "Emily." A hoarse voice came from the other end of the line. "Sorry to call so early." Rachel, who taught 4th grade at an elementary school, was known for her bright and cheerful personality. But this morning's voice was completely different from usual. The two sisters had been close since childhood and stayed in frequent contact even as adults. Especially during the period when Rachel suffered through 5 years of fertility treatments, Emily had been her emotional support. The countless failed treatments, the cycle of hope and despair, the pressure from those around them, Emily remembered many nights when Rachel called in tears. The miracle for Rachel had happened 3 weeks ago. She had finally gotten pregnant and safely delivered a baby girl. When the news arrived, Emily's family rejoiced from the bottom of their hearts. Emily rushed to St. Mary's Hospital on the day of delivery and saw her tiny niece through the nursery window. She was a beautiful baby with black hair. However, after that, Rachel began declining visits, saying, "I'm still not feeling well." When Emily visited the hospital, she was repeatedly turned away through nurses who said, "She's not feeling well today." While postpartum health issues weren't uncommon, Emily was concerned that they had continued for 3 weeks. "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Emily asked with concern. "Yes, my health." Rachel's voice was trembling. "Sister, I have a favor to ask. I'm in serious trouble." Emily encouraged Sophia to continue eating breakfast while focusing on the phone call. There was an unusual urgency in Rachel's voice. Rachel rarely asked others for favors. Due to her profession as a teacher, she was often the one supporting others, and she tended to dislike showing her weaknesses. "Tell me anything. I'll help you with whatever it is." "Thank you." Rachel answered through tears. "I'm really in trouble. I don't know what to do." Emily felt her heart clench. After overcoming 5 years of fertility treatments, this should have been the happiness she finally achieved, yet what was causing her sister such distress? The possibility of postpartum depression crossed her mind. As a former nurse, she had knowledge about such symptoms. "It's okay, Rachel. Whatever happens, I'm on your side. Can you tell me calmly what's going on?" Emily's gentle voice seemed to calm Rachel somewhat. "Sister, please," Rachel's voice was broken with tears. "Could you take care of the baby for just a few days? I really need to go to the hospital. I'm feeling terribly unwell." Emily was momentarily speechless. Taking care of a newborn wasn't simple. However, hearing her sister's desperate voice, she couldn't refuse. Of course. But Rachel, if you're feeling that unwell, shouldn't you call an ambulance? No, Rachel said frantically. It's not that serious. I just need some tests, and the doctor said I might need to be hospitalized for a few days. But I can't leave the baby alone. Emily frowned. Had there been some problem during the delivery 3 weeks ago? Or was it a postpartum complication? From her knowledge as a former nurse, various possibilities crossed her mind. What about your husband? Is Tom away on business? Yes, he won't be back until next week. So, you're the only person I can ask. Rachel's husband Tom worked for a construction company and sometimes left home for extended periods as a site supervisor. Emily felt sympathy for the unfortunate timing. I understand. Michael is also going on a business trip to Seattle tomorrow, so I'll be home anyway. As a former nurse, I can handle newborn care. Really? Relief mixed into Rachel's voice. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll bring her over this afternoon. After hanging up, Emily explained the situation to Sophia. Her 5-year-old daughter's eyes lit up. A baby is coming. Yay! It's like playing with dolls. She's a real baby, so it's different from dolls. She's very small, and we have to treat her very gently. I know. I'll be a good big sister. Emily smiled at Sophia's innocent joy. However, in the corner of her heart remained an inexplicable anxiety. She had sensed something unusual in Rachel's voice. Around 2 p.m., the doorbell rang.
Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit Stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious.
When Emily opened the door, Rachel stood there looking haggard beyond recognition. Her cheeks were hollow, and she had deep circles under her eyes. In her arms was a small baby wrapped in a white blanket. Rachel. Emily was speechless at her sister's transformed appearance. Are you okay? You look like you've lost so much weight. It's just postpartum, you know, Rachel forced a bitter smile. But this little one is healthy. Her name is Olivia. Emily looked down at the baby. She did indeed look healthy, with a peaceful little face. Soft black hair was growing on her head. She's adorable. May I hold her? However, Rachel hesitated for a moment. Oh, she's sleeping right now. I don't want to wake her. At that moment, Sophia came running down the stairs. Aunt Rachel. Let me see the baby. Oh, Sophia, Rachel forced a smile. You've gotten so big. Sophia looked at the baby. Wow, she's so small. Really tiny. Rachel placed 2 large bags at the entrance. I brought all the baby supplies. Diapers, formula, clothes, everything's here. Emily was surprised by the size of the bags. It was like luggage for a long trip. It seemed like too much for just a few days of babysitting. So much, it's just for a few days, right? Just to be safe, Rachel answered quickly. It would be terrible if something was missing, right? When they entered the living room, Rachel placed the baby on the sofa. Emily tried to get a better look at her niece's face, but Rachel stood up. Well, I have to go. I have a hospital appointment. Wait a minute, Emily panicked. I need you to tell me about feeding times, care instructions, and other details. Oh, right, Rachel was clearly anxious. Feed her every 3 hours. The amount is written down. There's nothing particularly unusual. She's a normal baby. Emily felt something was wrong. Usually, when mothers leave their babies with someone, they give much more detailed explanations. Feeding preferences, how to handle crying, sleeping habits, there should be so many things to discuss. What about her pediatrician? Emergency contact information. Oh, that. Rachel answered frantically. In emergencies, call 911. My cell phone won't work for a while. Won't work? Why? Because of the hospital. Poor reception. Rachel took a bottle from the bag and handed it to Emily. This should be fine. Thank you so much, sister. With that, Rachel headed quickly to the entrance without hardly looking at the baby. Emily followed her. Rachel, are you really okay? If you're hiding something. There's nothing, Rachel answered without turning around. I'll come pick her up in a few days. Please take care of Olivia. As the car engine sound faded away, the house was enveloped in silence. Emily returned to the living room and looked down at the baby sleeping on the sofa. Mommy, this little one is really cute, Sophia whispered. Like a doll. Yes, Emily smiled, but the unease in her heart was growing. That evening, when Michael came home, she explained the situation. He looked at the baby and smiled. What a cute little one. Rachel must have been going through a lot. It's good that you could help. But something's strange, Emily frowned. Rachel's behavior was odd. It was like she didn't want to look at the baby. Maybe it's postpartum depression. That happens often, Michael said consolingly. Rachel must feel relieved that you're taking care of the baby. The next day, Michael left on an early morning flight to Seattle. Emily began caring for the baby alone. Olivia was surprisingly easy to care for. She drank well, slept well, and rarely cried. However, as the days passed, Emily's unease grew stronger. First, there was no contact from Rachel at all. Normally, she would call repeatedly, worried about the child she'd left behind. But for 3 days, there were no phone calls or emails. Next, she noticed that all the baby's clothes and supplies were brand new. Some clothes still had tags on them. It was as if she had brought the entire set of items purchased for birth preparation. Normally, after 3 weeks of use, there should have been some signs of wear. And the strangest thing was that there wasn't a single photo of the baby. A mother would typically have dozens of photos of her newborn saved on her phone. However, Rachel had never shown any photos of Olivia. Mommy, when is Aunt Rachel coming to pick her up? Sophia asked. Soon, Emily answered, though she wasn't certain. Thursday morning, Emily had placed the baby in a basket and was preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Sophia sat next to Olivia, staring intently. Mommy, this baby has a strange mark on her foot. Emily turned around. A mark? Yes, shaped like a star. Emily hurried to Sophia's side and looked at the baby's foot. Indeed, there was a faint star-shaped mark on the left ankle. It appeared to be a birthmark. That's unusual, Emily murmured. But birthmarks aren't uncommon. Sophia tilted her head. But this shape. I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. At that moment, Sophia's expression suddenly changed. The color drained from her face, and her small body began trembling. Mommy. Sophia's voice was shaking. We have to get rid of this baby right away. Emily stared at her daughter in surprise. What are you saying? She's a baby. Sophia slowly looked up and stared at her mother. In those eyes was a fear that seemed too intense for a 5-year-old child. Because this baby. Sophia's small lips were trembling. She's the same as the one I saw on TV. Emily's heart began pounding violently. What do you mean by TV? Sophia, what are you talking about? Sophia continued in a thin voice without taking her eyes off the baby. I saw it at kindergarten. The teacher was watching the news, and we watched it together. A baby with a star-shaped mark went missing from a hospital. Alarm bells rang in Emily's head. Surely such a thing couldn't be possible. However, looking at Sophia's serious expression, this didn't seem like a child's made-up story. When was this news? Sophia, think carefully. Sophia counted on her small fingers. Monday. During snack time at kindergarten. The teachers were really worried, and they were crying saying, "Such a tiny baby." Emily quickly calculated. Monday, 3 weeks ago. That almost exactly matched the supposed date of Rachel's delivery. It was too coincidental. Which hospital was the baby from? Do you remember? Saint something. Saint Mary? Sophia looked up at her mother anxiously. Mommy, am I wrong? Emily's blood drained from her face. St. Mary's Hospital. That was the same hospital where Rachel had supposedly given birth. Could it really be possible? Mommy, I'm scared, Sophia tugged at Emily's sleeve. The police said, if you find her, please contact us immediately. Doesn't this baby want to go home? Emily's hands began to shake. She took out her cell phone and typed St. Mary's Hospital newborn missing into the search window. The few seconds it took for the search results to appear felt like an eternity. Emily gasped at the title of the news article that appeared on the screen. Newborn goes missing from St. Mary's Hospital, police begin investigation. She clicked on the article and read through the content. With each word that entered her vision, she felt as if reality was crumbling around her. 3 weeks ago on Monday morning, a 3-day-old baby girl went missing from the newborn nursery at St. Mary's Hospital. The baby has black hair and is characterized by a star-shaped birthmark on her left ankle. Hospital security cameras captured suspicious individuals, and police are investigating this as a kidnapping case. Emily's vision went dark. A star-shaped birthmark on the left ankle. Black hair. 3 days old. Everything matched. Could Olivia, sleeping peacefully on the sofa, actually be the missing baby? Mommy, what's wrong? Your face is completely white, Sophia called out with concern. Emily continued searching with trembling hands. The same incident was reported on other news sites. And among them were comments from the parents. We want to hold our child, who suddenly disappeared after only 3 days of life, as soon as possible. Please contact the police if you have any information. The mother's name was Sarah Mitchell. The father was James Mitchell. The photo showed an exhausted couple. These were parents who had been searching for their baby for 3 weeks. Emily continued scrolling through the article. Then she found an article with more detailed characteristics of the baby released by police. The missing baby is 48 centimeters tall, weighing 2,800 grams. The star-shaped birthmark on the left ankle is congenital, approximately 1 centimeter in size. The investigation is ongoing with FBI cooperation. Emily hurried back to the sofa and checked the sleeping baby's foot again. The size, shape, position, everything matched the article's description perfectly. There was no longer any room for doubt. Mommy, is this baby someone else's? Sophia asked in a small voice. Emily hugged her daughter. She couldn't explain this terrible truth to a 5-year-old child any further. However, without Sophia's sharp observation, she would never have noticed this horrifying fact. Sophia, you are a very brave and smart girl, Emily said while stroking her daughter's head. Thanks to you, I learned something very important. Can this baby go back to her real home? I'm sure she can, Emily answered, holding back tears. Because you noticed. Various questions swirled in Emily's mind. What exactly had Rachel done? Why had she brought this baby? And what had happened to Rachel's own baby? Reading further into the article, the details of the incident became clear. The baby had disappeared from the newborn nursery, and at the same time, a suspicious woman had been spotted in the hospital parking lot. The security camera footage was unclear, but the woman appeared to be in her 30s, wearing white clothing resembling a nurse's uniform. Emily gasped. Rachel was an elementary school teacher, but she had previously worked as a nursing assistant. She would be familiar with hospital layouts. Staring at her phone screen, Emily tried to accept reality. Had her beloved sister kidnapped someone else's baby? And had she used Emily to hide this fact? Sophia looked at the baby again. This baby's mommy and daddy must be very worried, right? Yes, Emily was moved by her daughter's pure heart. I'm sure they're very worried. Then we have to tell them right away that this baby is here. Emily nodded deeply. However, before that, she needed to confirm something with Rachel. Maybe there was some explanation. She didn't want to give up hope yet. Sophia, can you watch this baby for a little while? Mommy has to make an important phone call. Okay, I understand. I'll be good. Emily pressed Rachel's number with trembling fingers. The phone rang and rang, but no one answered. A voicemail message played. Rachel, it's me. Call me back immediately. I have something very important to discuss. There's something I need to talk to you about regarding Olivia. After hanging up, Emily read through the news articles again. Reading the desperate pleas of the missing baby's parents, she understood what she had to do. Emily called Rachel again. This time, she left a message on the voicemail with a stronger tone. Rachel, call me right now. I know the truth. I know everything about Olivia. Come here immediately. If you don't come within an hour, I'm calling the police. 30 minutes later, Rachel called back with a trembling voice. Sister, what are you talking about? You know better than anyone. Emily's voice was calm, but inside, a storm was raging. Come to my house right now. We have something important to discuss. But I'm at the hospital. Enough lies, Rachel, Emily said firmly. I saw the news about St. Mary's Hospital. The news about a baby with a star-shaped birthmark who went missing. Emily could tell that Rachel's breathing had stopped on the other end of the line. After a long silence, a thin voice was heard. I'm coming now. An hour later, Rachel appeared at the front door with a pale face. Her eyes were red and swollen, and her hands were shaking violently. Emily sent her daughter away from the living room, telling her to play in her room upstairs. Sophia, can you read books in your room for a little while? The grown-ups have something important to discuss. Okay, Mommy. Sophia obediently went upstairs but turned back to look at her mother with concern. Emily led Rachel to the kitchen and they sat facing each other. In the living room, the baby in question was sleeping quietly. Is this baby really Olivia? Your daughter? Emily asked directly. Rachel answered with trembling lips. What are you talking about? Of course she's my child. Don't lie, Emily showed her smartphone screen. This is an article about the baby who went missing from St. Mary's Hospital. The characteristics match perfectly. The star-shaped mark on the left ankle, the black hair, everything's the same. The color completely drained from Rachel's face. She buried her head in her hands and collapsed onto the table. Rachel, tell me the truth. Emily placed her hand on her sister's shoulder. What happened? Why did you do this? Rachel looked up and stared at Emily with a face streaked with tears. Sister, my baby. Her voice broke off, and sobs welled up. My real baby died 2 days after birth. Emily was speechless. Died? But you said you gave birth. I did give birth. But she had a congenital heart defect, Rachel continued through tears. The doctors did their best, but her tiny heart couldn't hold on. 48 hours after birth, she passed away in my arms. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes too. Imagining her sister's pain at losing the baby she had finally conceived after 5 years of fertility treatments made her heart feel like it would break. But why didn't you tell me the truth? Why this baby? This baby was born at the same hospital, on the same day, Rachel explained in a trembling voice. The day after my baby died, when I passed by the newborn nursery, I saw her. When I saw this baby, I thought God was giving me another chance. Rachel. Using the knowledge from when I worked as a nursing assistant, I exploited gaps in the security system. I targeted a time when there were fewer night shift nurses. Rachel covered her face. I became a thief. I stole someone's baby. Emily felt conflicting emotions of wanting to hug her sister and anger. She could understand her beloved sister's suffering, but her actions were absolutely inexcusable. What do you think has happened to this baby's real parents? For 3 weeks, they've been going through hell. I know, Rachel looked up. I watch the news every day. Every time I see the parents crying, I know what I've done. But, I couldn't turn back. Once I contacted you and lied about giving birth, I couldn't turn back. Everyone was celebrating and happy for me. Emily sighed deeply. What does Tom say? Does your husband know? Rachel shook her head. Before he comes back from his business trip, I thought I had to figure something out. But I didn't know what to do, so I decided to leave her with you. So you tried to make me an accomplice? No. Rachel desperately denied it. I just wanted time. Time to think about what to do. Emily stood up and looked out the window. Beyond the garden stretched the peaceful residential neighborhood scenery. However, her heart was being tossed by a storm. Rachel, what is this baby's real name? I don't know, Rachel answered in a small voice. I couldn't find out her name. But I know, Emily turned around. Her parents' names are Sarah and James Mitchell. For 3 weeks, they've been searching for their daughter. Rachel broke down crying again. Sister, please. Don't report this to the police. I have nothing else. This baby is my only hope. That hope is false, Emily said in a voice filled with sadness. This baby has a real family. She has parents who love her. But I love her too. For these 3 weeks, I've loved her like a real mother. Emily returned to Rachel's side and sat in the chair. Taking her sister's hands, she spoke gently. Rachel, I understand your feelings. I really do. But this isn't right. You know that too, don't you? Rachel nodded. The tears wouldn't stop. My baby died. But this baby is alive. This baby has the right to spend time with her real family. Yes, Rachel agreed in a thin voice. I was wrong. Emily took a deep breath. The action she had to take was clear. No matter how painful, she had to do the right thing. Let's go to the police together, Emily suggested. I'll be with you. I won't leave you alone. Rachel remained silent for a long time, but eventually nodded quietly. Sister, thank you. I'm glad you were here. Emily hugged her sister. Both were crying. One with sadness for a lost child, the other with sadness for her beloved sister's mistake. It's okay, Rachel. Whatever happens, you're my precious sister. Let's get through this together. The procedures at the police station lasted for hours. Emily never left Rachel's side, holding her hand the entire time Rachel answered the police officer's questions. Rachel spoke everything without hiding anything. Her baby's death, her despair, and the series of events leading to her impulsive crime. 3 hours later, Sarah and James Mitchell arrived at the police station. The tears of the parents reuniting with their child after 3 weeks moved everyone present. The baby slept peacefully in her mother's arms, as if she had always belonged there. Thank you, Sarah gripped Emily's hands and said. Without your courage, we could never have gotten this baby back. James also bowed deeply. 3 weeks of hell has ended. Thank you so much. Emily watched the scene with mixed feelings. Along with joy, worry for her beloved sister gripped her heart. Rachel was to undergo psychiatric evaluation. Based on the specialist's diagnosis, her extreme postpartum mental instability and trauma from long-term fertility treatments were recognized as contributing factors to the crime. Ultimately, diminished mental capacity was acknowledged, and she was sentenced to 2 years probation and continued psychiatric treatment. Emily offered to become her guarantor. "Sister, for someone like me," Rachel said through tears. "You're my precious sister. This time, let me truly support you," Emily smiled. "Let's receive treatment together. You're not alone." Over the following months, Emily accompanied Rachel to counseling once a week. In the beginning, Rachel continued to blame herself and couldn't look forward. However, through professional treatment over time, she gradually began to accept reality. "I'm glad I returned that baby," Rachel said one day with a peaceful expression. "That baby has a real family. I had no right to take her away. The most important thing is that you realized it yourself." Emily squeezed her sister's hand. 6 months later, Rachel returned to work at the elementary school. Her colleagues welcomed her warmly, and the children adored Rachel just as before. Her relationship with Tom was also repaired over time, and the two were able to make a fresh start. Letters occasionally arrived from the Mitchells. Their daughter was growing healthily, and they reported milestones in her growth: her first words, her first laugh. Emily showed these letters to Rachel as well. Rachel, who had initially seemed pained, gradually became able to genuinely rejoice in that growth. "I'm glad this baby looks so happy," Rachel smiled while looking at the photos. "My choice was wrong, but I'm glad I could do the right thing in the end." On Christmas Eve a year later, more people than usual had gathered at Emily's house. Michael and Sophia, and Rachel and Tom. 5 people sat around the dinner table. "Mommy," Sophia suddenly spoke up. "Aunt Rachel is family too, right?" "Of course," Emily answered. "Whether we're related by blood or not, the people we care about are family, right?" Sophia continued with a mature expression. "That baby was also able to return to her real mommy and daddy and become a real family, right?" Emily was moved by her daughter's pure and profound words. They seemed too insightful to come from a 5-year-old child. "That's right, Sophia. A real family might be love and mutual support that transcends blood relations." Rachel was tearing up. "Thank you, sister. Because you were there, I was able to recover. You taught me the meaning of real family." That night, snow began to fall quietly. Looking at the white world outside the window, Emily thought, even if someone makes mistakes, you cannot abandon the people you love. Supporting each other, forgiving each other, walking together, that is what a real family truly is. Far away, the Mitchell family was probably also spending a warm Christmas Eve. That small life was growing surrounded by the love of her real family. Everything had returned to where it belonged, and new hope had begun.